Hello, guys. My name is Zen here at the Soul Path Collective. In today's class, we're going to be talking about why your ex cheated on you. Really, we're going to be talking about what actually happens spiritually and frequentially when this event takes place. Many of us carry the idea and the notion that this person betrayed us. I myself have been cheated on in past relationships in my early 20s, and it creates a lot of anxiety, mistrust, and confusion. And you have to remember, God does not operate in the realm of confusion. God operates in the realm of alignment. So you're going to hear me talk a lot about energetic truths behind all these lessons as I break down each one of these topics. And if at any point you get lost, you can just stop and rewind this video. So section 1, we need to define the real problem. And the real problem is that it was never about them. It was about frequency. It was about the energy. The first energetic truth is that they did not betray you. They betrayed the frequency that was shared between you. Now, what does that mean? So you need to think of all of the relationships in your life as mirrors, right? You are the universe incarnated. You are the universe realizing itself. Your romantic partner, wife, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, you want to use the word partner, it makes you feel better. Your partner is your mirror, right? They mirror you. So when you get cheated on in that relationship, for whatever reason, you're not being punished, right? You're kind of just being shown and revealed what your blind spots were. And it's a lot deeper than, he did this or he had an iPhone and I should have known not to trust niggas with iPhones. Like, I know y'all be saying that to yourselves, but please, this is like, it's not that. It's much simpler, but it's also much deeper. So I'm gonna go into a little bit more about what that means, because I know some of y'all sisters be saying that to each other, and we gotta cut that out, right? You didn't attract this person into your life because you're broken. So sick of hearing all these crybaby TikTokers talk about how they're broken. You're not broken, right? Your subconscious mind was still programmed with old pain. Right? 95% of what's programmed in your subconscious actually determines your reality. It determines your success and determines your relationships. Now, from the ages of like 1 to 7 is when your subconscious mind is at its most fertile. Your parents actually have a lot more influence over your brain and your belief system than God does, right? It's not until you come and step into consciousness and remember who you are that you take back your divine essence and your divine power from what has been programmed into you. Almost like software, right? So the modern myth, especially in, well, you can say Eastern cultures as well, in Western and Eastern cultures, is that rings, marriage vows, contracts, and all of these things are, idealistically, they represent love. However, these things are used to hold something that frequency was never there to hold. In any words, you can't legislate love, right? Love is a vibration. Love is an energy. Love is a frequency. And these institutions were kind of made to, keep that frequency in line. But sometimes it does this. And you're like, whoa, shit, you're breaking the contract, my nigga. Like, no, sometimes that happens. A ring may be a symbol of that love. A lot of girls say, oh, well, show me the ring, get me the ring, papi, or something like that. I live in Colombia, so you hear that quite a bit. If you live in Latin America, you know what I'm talking about. However, two people, let's say this is you and this is your partner, give her some pretty hair. If you all are vibrating in trauma from your childhood or any trauma that had occurred previously, and that is dislodged in your subconscious, right? What happens is when you vibrate in misalignment, There is no external agreement or force that can stop the inevitable collapse of this union, right? The scripture says, Mark chapter 10, verse 9, what God has joined together, let nobody separate. And here's the kicker. Most people were never joined by God. Let me explain. Most people, most of you folks were never joined by God. You were joined by lust. You were joined by loneliness. You were joined. This is especially true. I'll tell you a story. When I lived in the Balkans. I lived in Croatia. Shout out to Croatia, bruv. A lot of women in those cultures and in East Asian cultures as well. There's a big pressure as they enter their mid-20s to like get married, have kids, and they just kind of settled really, really fast with Luca from the village. Luca was just around since third grade. There is no spiritual impact of him actually being the man for her. It's just, okay, yeah, this guy's been here. In most small towns, that's actually how it is. In a lot of parts of Croatia, especially outside of Zagreb, this is the mentality. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just how people in small towns operate, In fact, for most of human history, that's how it was. You married the local person in your village in exchange for some resources, but that's what was available to you. And very interestingly enough, when I was going out in these bars and clubs in Croatia, I'd meet so many older women who we talk, flirt, they would hit on me, et cetera, but they'd be in like their mid to late 30s, sometimes early 40s, and they all had the same story about their divorce. It was as if they were describing the same man over and over again. I'm just like, well, why do you get into these relationships in the first place? Social pressure. A lot of athletes, y'all gotta stop getting these OnlyFans girls pregnant and these porn stars pregnant because you are united by lust, right? Some of you during the pandemic rushed into engagement, you rushed into marriages, and you rushed into relationships because you were lonely, which is rooted in the fear vibration, which is a first and second dimensional frequency. We're going to draw this little frequency chart here. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, fear, anxiety, lust. But this was your original union, right? Typically it's that. Sometimes even, you'll be conjoined through, you'll just say, oh, well, we've been friends since we were 17, 18. Doesn't necessarily mean that's the person that the universe, that doesn't mean that that's like your soulmate. That doesn't mean that that's the woman or the man that God has intended for you to be with. That's just convenience, place and time. And so you'll say, oh, we used to be best friends, but we grew apart. It's like, yes, but was the connection ever built in romance? I'm not going to get into the specifics, but I am going to say God does not operate in the realm of distortion. God does not dwell in confusion. The kingdom of heaven lives in frequency. It lives in vibration. When these vibrations are what unite you, men and women, be sure that heartbreak and trauma are sure to follow, because these things have been still programmed and lodged into your subconscious minds from when you were little. A lot of you might not even be aware of certain traumas that still live there from the times that you are little. And it may manifest in your business relationships, at work, with your friends, romantic partnerships. You say, why do I continue to push people away? It's not that you're pushing people away. It's just your nervous system is just fucked up. And it needs to be rewired and reprogrammed. We need new belief systems, right? In ancient societies, your subconscious mind was seen as the Garden of Eden. Now, I'm not here to debate you Christians on, the Garden of Eden being an actual physical place. There's a lot of conspiracy theories in ancient texts that suggest that the Garden of Eden was some kind of lab for Anunnaki beings and aliens. Would be valid. Would explain why a lot of people are just so disconnected from spirit. But in ancient societies, I'm going to do my best to draw a little brain here, brain matter. The Garden of Eden represents the subconscious mind. Now, I want you to pay attention very closely to what I'm about to say. If the subconscious is filled with weeds, old belief systems, unhealed wounds, betrayal patterns, then it's going to grow thorns instead of fruit. Thorns, right? You walk in there and you're just getting pricked left and right. But you got this cut on your arm, cut on your leg. Betrayal has been planted at some point in your early life into your subconscious mind, okay? And because this plant has been sitting here, not getting any light, not getting any water, it's growing all these thorns, this is what shows up in your relationships, A lot of you folks with 4, 5 baby daddies, 4, 5 baby mamas, that's what's there. Whether or not you acknowledge it or not. Like I said, God doesn't operate in confusion. Healing your heartbreak is more rebellious than it is spiritual. Because in spiritual rebellion, you go against the programming that has in many ways kept you enslaved, right? Now, ancient Sumerian texts, we're going to kind of go into history of it. Ancient Sumerian texts suggest and refer to these Anunnaki beings, manipulated early human beings through control of their subconscious mind. Well, what did they do exactly? Well, because they had such advanced knowledge of how emotional suppression works, let me erase this over here. Betrayal, heartbreak, and shame were frequencies that were used to enslave humanity in lower vibrational cycles. Because, and remember what I'm about to say, a traumatized species is easier to control than an enlightened species. I'll say that again. A traumatized species is easier to control and manipulate than an enlightened species. If I can keep you confused and keep you disconnected from your true self, from your higher self, it's easier for me to sell you things. It's easier for me to lie. It's easier for me to get you to argue with someone, to kill someone, to have war with someone, right? The devil, lower vibration, operates in distortion and confusion. God operates in the realm of clarity, love, and alignment. So don't go blaming God for why your last whatever didn't work out. It wasn't God. God had nothing to do with that. Leave it alone. Okay? So healing your heartbreak is more emotional. It's not just emotional. It's a spiritual rebellion. Okay? Time to heal. It's a spiritual rebellion against the programming that has kept humanity enslaved for, I won't even say centuries. I would probably say like a millennia. Very, very long time. These lower vibrational cycles, war, resources, war, me stronger than you, this my tribe, oh, that's my woman, lower vibrational cycles. Think about that. Now we're going to dive into section 2. Section 2, we're going to talk about the quantum law of reflection. Your partner is always your mirror. Like the Justin Timberlake song. It's like in my mirror. Oh, my mirror staring back at me. I couldn't get any bigger. Oh, don't copyright that. Okay? So we're going to talk about the quantum law of reflection. Your subconscious beliefs are always programming your relationships. Always. You don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you believe, what you are aligned to. Okay? The betrayal, when you did get cheated on, X, Y, and Z so many times, it didn't come from out of nowhere, right? This came from an energetic blueprint that you inherited, absorbed, and never questioned. All right? You're not cursed. You're just manifesting a wounded Garden of Eden. You have to treat your minds, ladies and gentlemen, like a garden. Okay? And on the surface, in the subconscious, everything may seem fine, right? But in Eden, this 95% here, we can have all of these weeds and all of these trees and all these plants with thorns and maybe even a fire. We don't know. But this is what you continuously manifest, and this is why a lot of your relationships just continue to not work out. If you do find yourself in the situation where you are attracting this, it's a little bit deeper than that. Egyptians believed that the heart and the subconscious mind were one, right? The seat of Ma'at. Write this over here. Ma'at. Egyptian word for truth and balance. The Bible echoes this. Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23. Guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Now, what does that mean? When betrayal blooms in the garden of your subconscious, it means that these weeds that have been lodged in here have gone unattended for just way too long, right? Cheating is not the act. It is the leak in frequency that starts before the affair. I'll say that again. Cheating is not the act. It is the leak in the vibrational frequency that starts long before it manifests in reality, right? The quantum truth behind all of this is your heart, we talked about the chakras earlier, emits the strongest electromagnetic field within the body. When someone starts vibrating in guilt, resentment, or desire for novelty, they begin to collapse in frequency of union, right? I'll say that again. The heart is the strongest electromagnetic field in the body, okay? When you start vibrating in guilt, resentment, jealousy, or a desire for novelty, the union then begins to fold, okay? And this kind of happens in like subtle ways, you know? Eye contact fades, presence becomes performance. I want to talk about presence becoming performance a little bit, right? In our earlier lesson, we talked about how people who are high achievers can often sometimes be so miserable and so twisted up inside because their presence was never enough at some point in their life. They always had to perform to receive love, right? The same is true in cheating. The presence of this person becomes performative, you know? They're putting on a show. The sacred energy shared between you two becomes routine, right? So what happens when they actually cheat? Well, somebody else matched their new vibration that they're emitting. Betrayal is not random. Betrayal is resonance. This new person here matched their new frequency and their new vibration, right? They don't steal your person. They align with the frequency that your partner then fell into. In this case, we'll be saying ex-partner, right? In Vedic text, this is rasa. Rasa means the flavor of energy between two souls. If the rasa spoils, the union spoils. No paper, title, or moral guilt can override quantum decay. Okay? This is it, folks. We're going to move on to section 3 and why holding on to this blocks your entire life. I mean, there's people haven't gotten over shit from 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, repeating the loop in the narrative in their own mind, which actually only poisons them, which is crazy to think about. You think you're doing harm to that person, bro, you're like affecting your own vibration. It's just wild, right? Now this one's gonna it's gonna be a hard pill to swallow. You think betrayal happens in the bedroom. Betrayal doesn't happen in the bedroom. Betrayal happens in the garden of your subconscious. Right? Neuroscience confirms that the subconscious mind, right, controls emotional memory and 95% of all of your perception, right? What lives in your subconscious, the inner Eden, this is actually the place where all of creation begins. All of manifestation begins in the subconscious mind, okay? An ancient text refers to the Garden of Eden as not being a physical place, but a state of divine subconscious programming. The inner realm from which all manifestation occurs. Adam and Eve didn't eat an apple. Adam and Eve downloaded a frequency of distortion, of truth and self. I'll say that again. Adam and Eve didn't eat no damn apple. And God was like, you're punished. Come on now. Oh, you ate the apple. Oh. No, bro. They downloaded a frequency of distortion, of truth, and self. You were taught betrayal is personal. It's not. It is a programming. Okay? If your subconscious mind is still running old codes, like, for example, abandonment, unworthiness, fear, right? You are going to attract people who act out those beliefs right in front of you, and you're not even going to know it. By the time you do know it, it's going to be too late, right? The Sumerian tablets talk about Anunnaki creating man to be a programmable worker, right? The translation of this is your subconscious is programmable. Think of it like a software algorithm, right? And was programmed, right? So now the question I want you guys to ask yourself is, what program are you running that allowed this frequency of betrayal to manifest? Okay? Soul-wide impact is when you replay betrayal, your subconscious gets reprogrammed to expect it again. Right? I'll tell you a story about my aunts. I have an aunt in particular who always replayed the same story to herself in her head. I'm not pretty enough. My sister's lighter than me. People love her more, etc., etc., etc. Right? She kept telling herself that. So that's the belief system that got programmed into her subconscious mind and continued to get replayed over and over and over again. Right? Your body, your frequency, everything starts to shift to fear, mistrust, and guilt. You're trying to manifest love and abundance. You're praying, oh God, please, please, please. But your subconscious still believes that love equals pain, okay? And what you believe, your subconscious mind is going to be programmed to expect to see it again. It's going to continue to play out in your reality over and over again. So, the Garden of Eden becomes this prison that you have locked yourself in, okay? The divine subconscious becomes a fortress of fear, right? And every area of your life suffers. Your career, you play it small to avoid fear of judgment. Money, scarcity sets in. A lot of people have this issue where you reject love before it has the chance to arrive. And this is, honestly, to me, the most important one, because I see so many people just self-sabotaging so many friendships and relationships because their Garden of Eden, their subconscious mind, has become a prison. So they reject love before it has the chance to arrive in their life because they're still replaying old belief patterns. Oh, he cheated on me. Oh, my sister's such a... Thorns and weeds in your subconscious, bruv. Right? Psalms chapter 51, verse 10. Create in me a clean heart, O God. Translation, your heart is your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is your garden. I'll say that again. Your heart is your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is your garden. Tend to your garden. And until that is cleansed, you are not going to be able to manifest God's blessings. It cannot take control. So moving into section 4, this is something that I got a lot of relatives who do this stuff right here, man. Section 4, write this down, y'all. You're not healing. You are looping. You're looping. You're looping, shouty. You're looping. You're loopy. Okay? I'm going to draw this dimensional chart here again. Okay. So, unresolved heartbreak anchors you in the third dimension. Shame, scarcity, self-doubt. I had that one for a long time. Manifestation happens in the fifth dimension. Gratitude, faith, divine alignment. Your manifestations don't care about your affirmations. They care about your vibrations, bruv. They care about the cells, bruv. You need to pay attention. If you're still vibrating in grief, you'll magnetize jobs, partners, and ideas that reflect that grief. The universe won't give you more love if you haven't made peace with love that is left, okay? And this is why some people, they can't grow their businesses, they can't manifest friendships, they can't find partners who are aligned because they never learned to transmute this. They never transmuted heartbreak. They built a life on top of pain instead of alchemizing it, okay? So what we need to do, and what we do at Soul Path, is we rewire your Eden within, okay? But you have to want to make that commitment for yourself. So I want you to think about this. Every time you replay the betrayal, whether it be a relationship with your child, a partner, whatever, I want you to realize this. Every time you replay it, you imprint it deeper into your subconscious. You rehearse heartbreak instead of releasing it. The Garden of Eden becomes familiar with pain and rejects peace because it feels foreign. You've betrayed your identity, and the Garden of Eden cannot bloom while you are still watering weeds, my guy. You're watering those weeds. Okay? You've got this whole narrative that you're walking around with, that you have this wounded identity. Your identity is not wounded. Right? The version of you that allowed this betrayal to happen wasn't bad. It was just unconscious. Stop telling yourself that. It was just unconscious. Oh, like if I could just tell my younger self this. Your younger self wasn't as conscious as the you that you are now. Conscious development happens at various stages in human life, guys. It's okay. Practice more self-forgiveness, right? So that old version of you has to die so that the divine version of you can step in, all right? Now, tying this into our Anunnaki friends, and I'm going to link a book in the description. I'm going to link another video where you can learn about Anunnaki, the OG colonizers, right? Their intentions were to control our vibration and cut us off and disconnect us from God, right? You control someone's vibration, you can control their manifestation. And if you can control their manifestations, then you can keep them enslaved. Ho, ho, ho. Right? And to heal your heartbreak, no matter in what area of your life it shows up, is to break the spell. That's what we want to get you all to do, is to break the spells that have been programmed into your belief system. Right? Now, this is the fun part. Most of today's class has been kind of gloom and doom, but I really want you guys to understand what's actually going on and not, blaming too much on yourself, being too hard on yourself, or residing in resentment and hate, because those literally are not serving you at all. And God's actually like, nah, fam, I ain't blessing you. You gotta transmute that, right? So section 5 is how to transmute betrayal into divine union. Okay? The real work that you need to do is inner gardening. Inner gardening. Your job is not revenge. I'm gonna make so much money. Your job is not revenge. Your job is not finding someone new to distract you while you're suffering pain. Your job is to tend to your Eden. Okay? Cleanse it and reseed it with truth. You need to reseed wholeness and frequency. It's really, really hot in here. I'm gonna get a towel and wipe my face because wait, is one in here? No. Hang on one second. All right, ladies, I'm back. Sorry, baby, I wasn't gone for too long, was I? All right. So, we need to make a step-by-step plan. The first thing I need y'all to do is to acknowledge the pattern. Do not live in delusion, because the devil operates in delusion and distortion, and God operates in alignment. I need you to tell yourself that. I need you to stop following these toxic influencers who are telling y'all all this bullshit about, well, if I just say it 1,000,000 times to myself. No, baby. You gotta be that. You gotta know that in yourself. There's a scene in The Matrix where Morpheus looks at Neo and he says, don't just think you are, know you are. So I'm trying to free your mind, right? Step one, baby, I need you to acknowledge the pattern, okay? Stop blaming him or her. Go into your garden, all right? Step two, energetic alchemy. Use the heartbreak as a frequency lever. Cry, scream, write, move. Let it break the ego, but don't bury it in your soul, okay? Remember, the heart was never broken. No one can break your heart. The ego was broken. Because the ego, the illusion of self, is oftentimes rooted in distortion and confusion. Okay? So, feel the pain. Feel the pain and let it pass like water in a river. Third, we need to do conscious reprogramming. Okay? Your subconscious is Eden. We need you to go in there. We need you to replant the garden. All right? I am safe to love again. I release the one who betrayed me. I attract divine unity because I embody it. Embody the word. Psalms chapter 51, verse 10. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. Forgiveness isn't for them. Forgiveness is a frequency for you so that you can go back into alignment. Okay? So the 5-step frequency shift. Witness the pattern. This didn't start with them. It started with what I believed about love. Okay? Rewire the subconscious. Affirm my heart is a fertile ground for divine union. Journal daily. Speak life into your subconscious mind. Some manifestation coaches say that journaling doesn't help, but it's actually been proven to help, including vision boards and stuff. What your mind sees and what you repeat to it over and over and over again, it's able to work its way back into the subconscious mind and rewire your garden. Okay, it's as simple as that. Realign with the divine union. Visualize Eden being restored in your subconscious. Peaceful, safe, whole. Call in the blessings. From this frequency, I call in aligned love, divine work, financial overflow, and soul expression. Now, I want to talk about our boy JC. I want to talk about the Christ. Jesus didn't fear betrayal, even though he knew he was going to be betrayed. He allowed it because crucifixion comes before resurrection. Okay? You're not being punished, you're being purified. Okay? You were never betrayed by a person, you were shown your own programming. And now you have the sacred chance to return to Eden, not the one you lost, but the one you were always meant to create inside. Okay? This healing is not going to happen overnight, but it's going to happen through frequency, devotion, and daily alignment, right? For more guidance, I want you guys to pick up a copy of my book. I'll link it out in the description, The Frequency of Love. It's an ebook. It's around 50 pages, visuals. And in there, I go into talk about what the frequency of love is to help you understand what the vibrational alignments are. You've been sold a package by parents, religious institutions, teachers, social media, mass media, which are completely out of alignment with what the frequency of love actually is. Okay? So, this was your spiritual science class. My name is Zen. And until next time, guys, stay soft, stay sovereign, stay free. Love you.